The ferocious seafaring Vikings were a feared Scandinavian invader from the late 700s AD. Over 3 centuries their ships carried the ruthless warriors to nearby and distant lands, which included the British Isles and northern Europe. They ranged as far as northern Africa, the Middle East, the Mediterranean, and present-day Turkey and Canada. Doing battle as pirates, raiders and traders, the Viking voyagers formed settlements and governments in many parts of the world, establishing themselves and their descendants as rulers and nobility. The saying that we all carry a little Viking DNA is probably not too inaccurate. For many descendants, the Viking Age in England started in earnest in June of 793. Vikings tore down the abbey on Lindisfarne, an island considered holy off the northeastern coast. The desecration of the sacred outpost was described by Alcuin, an Anglo-Saxon scholar, in Charlemagne's court, who declared, "Never before has such a terror appeared in Britain," naming the attackers as heathens from a pagan race. Perhaps astonished at the vulnerable, wealthy and unarmed communities to their west, by 866 the Danish Vikings had invaded York, and in 876 began to besiege northern and eastern England. Quashing several smaller Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, they eventually came to control a third of the British mainland. Their territory became known as Danelaw, as they battled with English kings over the next 80 years. The Viking Age in England probably ended in 1066, when the Saxon King Harold Godwinson repelled an invasion from Norwegian King Harold III at the Battle of Stamford Bridge in Yorkshire. The 200 years of Viking occupation did leave behind many reminders in the form of language, place names, and of course genetics. In fact, lack of local mating opportunities is thought to be a primary motivator in the Nords' global expansion. A map found on the Ancestry website showing surmised averages of Scandinavian DNA ethnicity across Great Britain and Ireland indicates a spread pattern that seems to reflect known events of Viking invasion. The highest level of Scandinavian descent is seen in northeast England and declines as it spreads further outwards from that region. The first and easiest way to check if you may have some long-lost Viking ancestor is in your family name. The Danes of that era used the system of patronymics to designate the lineage of their children. A newborn would be named after their father, or sometimes their mother. An example is that the son of Ivar would be given their own first name, then followed by Ivar's son. A girl's second name would be Ivar's daughter. Over the centuries, many of these names, which end in sen or son, have evolved into now well-known surnames, such as Thompson, Jackson and Watson. This naming pattern is still used in Iceland today, but in Scandinavia has been replaced by family names. Another naming custom then was to refer to some personal characteristic of the ancestor, using words such as short, tall, love, wise, long or good, etc. The name Goodman is an example. Another is the name Flat, which was adopted by a Nord who had settled on the flatlands of East Anglia. Many Scottish, Irish and of course Scandinavian names can also denote a Viking predecessor. Unfortunately, our Viking ancestors also bestowed a couple of hereditary health problems on the wider world. A recent archaeological dig at Viking latrine pits in Denmark found that the strong and fearsome warriors suffered badly from internal worm infestations. Research into the Vikings' DNA found that in order to deal with this condition, their genes adapted to better protect their bodies from the parasites. The trait can still be found in their descendants today, but new studies by the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine has determined that this protective gene could also be problematic. Those who inherit this enzyme inhibitor gene are more at risk of lung diseases such as emphysema. The Vikings never lived long enough to experience this knock-on effect. A Viking heritage is also generally blamed for another condition called Dupuytren's contracture. Found in 1 to 2% of the population, where there is usually a family history of it, the disease is much more common in men and anecdotally linked to the rowing of longships. It causes progressive retraction of the fingers, resulting in permanently clenched hands that can only be treated with surgery. Its sufferers are mainly Northern European, with the highest numbers found in Iceland. Interestingly, Sweden and Edinburgh have a similar level of prevalence. The Norse homeland, from where the Vikings originated, now forms modern-day Denmark, Norway and Sweden. To reassure any who are concerned about their possible Viking ancestry, there has been some myth-busting around the Nords' unsavoury image. There is no evidence that they wore horned helmets or drank from the skulls of defeated enemies. Even their savagery and poor hygiene are in dispute, with combs a common find in old settlements.